Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're going to welcome everybody into our service. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. So if you're following along, we're going to begin on page number 10. I'll paste into the chat the page number for everybody so that you can follow along if you want. We are going to be beginning with Hine Matov on that page. And it's good to see everyone. So we'll get a chance when services end to get a chance to say hello and to welcome everyone. But for now, we're going to continue and we're on page number 10. Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Achim Kam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Achim Kam Yachad. Hine Matov Shevet Achim Kam Yachad. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim 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 Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Yananai Yanananananai. Hine Matov Yananai Yanananananai. Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. So once again, we're on page number 10, and we are the second prayer on that page. Ma yafeh hayom Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafeh hayom Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Let's see everyone singing, all our mouths moving. Ma yafeh hayom. Ma yafeh hayom Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafeh hayom Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. So once again, Shabbat Shalom. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. If you want to chat to each of us and say happy Thanksgiving, and maybe, Tina started the trend, something maybe that you're grateful for. We'll move into our lighting of our candles and our blessing our wine as we turn to page number 2 first.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu leha Shel Shabbat. Move ahead in our Siddur to page 5. And once again, if you have a Kiddush cup, please raise it with me. If you don't have a Kiddush cup with you, raise your hand as if you're holding that Kiddush cup. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, be'ahava uvratzon, hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila, למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen. And so we're going to move forward. We're on page number 20 as we join together in the words of L'chaduti. L'chaduti likrat kala yananai 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 b'nei Shabbat kapla yidai yidai l'chaduti likrat kala yananai 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 b'nei Shabbat kapla Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad Hishmianu el hamyuchad Adonai echad U'shmo echad V'shemo tiferet eli tchila L'chadati likrat alai Ananai 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 B'nei Shabbat Kapla Yaida Yaida Lechaduti Katala Yananai 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 B'nei Shabbat Kapla Likrat Shabbat Lechuven Elchan Ki hi mekor habiracha Mirosh Mikedem Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila Lechaduti likrat kala yananai 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 b'nei Shabbat kapla yaida yaida lechaduti likrat kala yananai 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 b'nei Shabbat kapla. Verse number 5. Hitoreri, Kiva oreku mi uri, Shidaberi, Kevoda Adonai, Allah Yignila, Lechaduti likrat kala yananai 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 b'nei Shabbat. Yaida yaida lechaduti likrat kala yananai 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 b'nei Shabbat mikabela. I'll invite you to rise, verse number 9. Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha u'betzola Toch emunei am segula Boi kala Lechaduti likrat kala yananai Ananai, 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 B'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. So after having sung this opening prayer, kind of introducing ourselves to Shabbat, I'm going to invite us now to turn to page 26 as we join together in the Chatzi Kaddish and we remain standing.
Yitgadav Yitgadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Yam Adivrach Yirutei V'yam Lich Malchutei V'chayechon V'yam Echon V'chayedecho Beit Yisrael B'Hagala Uvizman Karim V'yemeru. Amen. Yesh Merabah Mevarach Le'olam Ulamei Amaya Yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitbar v'yitrama v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudashah. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran b'yalama v'yemeru. Amen.
We remain standing, page 28. Adonai HaMivorach, Baruch Adonai HaMivorach, Leolam Vaed. Baruch Adonai HaMivorach, Leolam Vaed. We're seated together as we turn our page 30 and 31.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of time and light. You guide the current of day into night. As heaven span to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim.
Ahavat olam, Yisrael, Amcha ata, Amcha ata. Torah u'mitzvot, u'mishpatim, otanu lemadeta, otanu lemadeta. Alkein Adonai Eloheinu b'shokbenu, u'meinu nasiach berugecha, v'nizmach b'divrei toratecha, u'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki chayenu v'yurech yameinu, uvahem negeyom v'layla, negeyom v'layla. Inu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem Emet.
We're going to move forward. We're on page number 40 as we join together in Micha Mocha. Yain and nine 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 nine. Yain and nine 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 nine. Yain and nine 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 nine. Yain and nine 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 nine. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha netar ba'kodesh. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha netar ba'kodesh. No rateilo o sefele. No rateilo o sefele. Adonai imloch leolam vaed. Malchut chara uvanecha. Okay, I am lifnei Moshe uMiriam. Zelianu ve'amru. Zelianu ve'amru. Adonai imloch leolam vaed. Yain and nine 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 nine. Yain and nine 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 nine. Yain and nine 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 nine. Yain and nine 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 nine. Yain na na nine nine. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael, page 42. Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim Ushmor Seteinu Uvoenu L'Chaim U'Shalom Le'ata v'ad olam Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'Hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim. In a moment, we're going to move forward into our Amidah prayer, rising on page 46. And after you pray the opening blessing, asking God to open our lips, I'll invite us to continue silently as we move through this prayer through page number 60, either praying the words in our heart or the words on the page. We rise together for our Amidah.
Open my eyes to truth. Open my hands to give freely. Open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love. Open my eyes to truth. Open my hands to give freely. Open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love. Adonai sefatay tiftach, ufi hagid tehillatech. Open my lips to good words, to pure words. Open my heart to love.
We're on page number 60. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki Ata Hu Melech Adon lecho hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon, lecho hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. B'tov b'necha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. So we turn together to page 253 as we pray for the healing, both body and soul and spirit, of those who are in our midst and who are sick. And so I'll invite you to type the names of people that you're thinking into our chat and to turn your attention to the screen as together we pray for these lists of names for these individuals in our congregation.
Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mikor habracha. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
So once again, Shabbat Shalom to everyone. I've been thinking a little bit about the nature of the way that we remember people. And I was thinking about that actually in light of this week's Torah portion. So for those who haven't read the Torah portion, we're in the middle of Jacob's life. Last week, we had a series of episodes in his childhood, things that he did wrong, stealing his brother's birthright, his brother's blessing. And at the end of the portion, he ends up running away from home because he's scared that his brother's so angry at him that his brother might kill him. And we find Jacob on the road at the beginning of this week's Torah portion. And first he lays down and he dreams this strange dreams of angels going up and down a ladder. And God is standing on top of the ladder. And God basically says to him, I know you're scared, but you will be okay. And then he ends up in his uncle's abode in Laban's house, and he falls in love with Laban's daughter, Rachel, and seeks to marry her, actually marrying the wrong daughter first. And so he marries Leah, the older daughter, and then Rachel, and builds this tribe, and he works and he gets rich. And then he leaves Laban finally after 20 years. And then in next week's portion, he's going to wrestle with an angel and he's going to meet his brother. finally that reuniting that he's been so scared to do. So this week, it feels kind of like the middle of that saga. And I've been thinking a little bit about how Jacob is portrayed. Because earlier this week, I did a eulogy for a member of our congregation, Claudette Pfeffer. And I remember as I was talking to her family about her, the family emphasized a lot of traits that had nothing to do with her professional life. I came to find out that she was a secretary for like many, many decades. But at the end of the day, that made it into my eulogy about this much. The truth is, it was about the person who she was, rather than what she did, that I ended up reflecting on. And I've been thinking about all the different eulogies that I had been doing over these past number of years as a rabbi, and specifically over these past year, from the time of, we're getting toward the end of the calendar year, so the time of the beginning of 2020 until the end. And I think about all the kind of giants that our congregation lost and what those eulogies really were like. At the end of the day, for example, Harvey Morgenstern did a lot in his life, and he was really involved as an engineer, and was important in that way. At the end of the day, both when Rabbi Kushner eulogized him and when I eulogized him, that maybe made it into a paragraph, if not less, in both of our eulogies. The person who he was, what he did for his community, his friendships, his family mattered so much more. Same with Fred Pressman. The truth is, we made a joke about it that none of us really understood what he did because it was about who he was rather than the job that he chose to do for his whole entire life. The great eulogies that I've ever heard, for the most part, do not reflect what someone did. They reflect who someone was. And that brings me to this dichotomy that David Brooks talks about in his book, Road to Character. He talks about there are two kinds of virtues that we have. We have CV or resume virtues, and we have eulogy virtues. And often in our life, we are told to kind of live our life according to the resume virtues, to do the best we can in our jobs, to try to build our careers, and to do things that look impressive. But at the end of the day, as it was for Claudette and Freddie, and as it was for Harvey and many of the others that we've eulogized in the past, we don't actually reflect on someone's CV. Their resume is practically irrelevant. We reflect on their character, who they were. And that, in a way, is what the Torah tends to emphasize as well. I'll tell you that there's a throwaway paragraph or two in this week's Torah portion about how Jacob gets rich. Jacob has this kind of magical thing that he does with sheep that end up kind of creating these large herds despite his father-in-law's influence to try to get him to fail at business. He ends up being incredibly successful when he's working for his father-in-law, first 7 years to try to marry Rachel. And when he accidentally marries Leah, the other 7 years to finally marry Rachel. So much so that his father-in-law doesn't want to let him go. But at the end of the day, more ink is spilled about the character of Jacob than the job that Jacob did. We find out about his struggles to have children, about the way he treated his wives. We find out about how much he loved Rachel. We find out about the strength of his to be able to roll a rock off of a well to be able to make sure that Rachel and everybody in that town could drink when he first got there. We hear about the fear of what it means to be estranged from his brother. And next week, we're going to learn about the reunion with his brother, right? We learn about his dreams and that God reassures him and that he can look at a place where he dreamed and he can say, "Achen yesh b'makom hazeh, ve'anochi lo yadati." Wow, this place is surely a place where God dwells. And I, in that moment, did not know. That is the character of Jacob that we read about because our tradition understands the dichotomy between resume virtue and eulogy virtue. And in a way, the Bible is one long tale, one long eulogy, not history, of our greatest founders, forefathers, and foremothers. And so we are instructed just by the nature of the example of the Torah to emphasize pieces of our lives that are not on our resume. Different of us are going to be more successful in business than others. Different of us are going to find more esteem in our jobs. Different of us might even find real fulfillment in the work that we do. But at the end of the day, even work colleagues of people who eulogize them spend little time talking about the achievements of work. Rather, they talk about what someone brought to work culture. They talk about someone hearing over the water cooler about a sickness and bringing a lasagna to their home. They hear about what it means every single day to sit next to someone of kindness and compassion and warmth. And at the end of the day, these are what belong in their eulogy, not on their resume. I found that when we emphasize the resume too much in someone's eulogy, it was often either because they were a workaholic or they weren't a very nice person. The really beautiful people end up getting the hard work that they did through life swallowed up by the words about their character. Because at the end of the day, that's what matters more. And so I want to challenge every single one of us to stand in the footsteps of the biblical author. And not only to emphasize that in yourself and in others, but to understand that if you want to leave a legacy, it's not going to be the case that you won, or the account that you closed, or the merger that you did. It's not going to be the great email that you sent, the amazing marketing plan that you figured out. Honestly, even the test scores of your students. It's going to be the way you make people feel. It's going to be how you lift others up. It's going to be whether you open your heart or not. We learn that by watching the way that Jacob is described. The most successful businessman in the history of the book of Genesis and potentially in the history of biblical thought only gets a paragraph on his wealth. Think about that. And so understand what is important in life. And I hope every single one of us, when faced with a decision to massage or to grow the resume virtues over the eulogy ones, choose to work on the eulogy virtues, for it is through those that you will be remembered. Shabbat Shalom. So we're going to move now toward our closing few prayers to Aleinu. I'll invite us to rise as we turn to page 282.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, lateit gedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot adam shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, vanachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
We move forward 5 pages.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
We're seated together. Our thoughts now turn to those that we've loved and that we've lost. People who I'm sure when you think about them, if they are your loved ones, you recall specifically their character. And so this Shabbat, we think of the following individuals: Morris Appel, Marie Delabella, Sabrina Denenberg, Sam Forum, Teresa Garrick, Helen Goldstein, Juanita Goldstein, Ike Hertzberg, Beatrice Glickman Indek, Irving Jacobson, John Janulis, Leonard Katowitz, Oscar Samuel Katz, William Keels, Charles Lazar, Scott Mackler, Louis Malik, Ruth Maltonfort, Esther Marcus, James Massinio, John David Miziolka, Laura Morit Katz, Rachel Nallenbuff, Hyman Nathan, Eleanor Neifeld, Laura Newman, Daniel Pfaff, Rhoda Pressman, Seth and Ronna Roberts, Florence Rosansky, Harry Rose, Dan Rosenberg, Rose Small, Gloria Smith, Ben Spitz, Inga Strauss, Cecile Tegler, Harry Olenet, Abe Weintraub, Philip Wild, and Sophie Zubatkin. And for those who are in their Shiva and Shloshim periods of mourning, Linda Gurwitz, stepmother of Amy Gurwitz, Claudette Pfeffer, Jeffrey Colin, brother of Ken Colin, June Mintz, godmother of Brian Arbor, Benjamin and Meg Arbor, cousins of Brian Arbor, and Mark Grayson, brother of Paul Grayson. In addition, I'll invite anybody who's observing a yard site that might not have been on this list or someone who is in their 1-year period of mourning. We join together either rising in body or in spirit, page 294, Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayed d'chol beit Yisrael, b'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amin. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya, yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'rechu, le'lam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata damiram v'yama v'imru amin. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amin. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amin. We can be seated now, and Ronnie, I'll invite you to just say any announcements that you have before I share a few others.
Okay. Tomorrow morning at 9:00 a.m., Herb Purton will be leading our Torah study. At the same exact time, Ray Wolfson and Irene Sherman will be leading the part 3 of their Tai Chi workshop. If you've been to either of those, you're going to want to make a date to come on at 9 a.m. Rick Abrams and I will be leading Tefillah at 10:00 a.m. tomorrow morning. Thursday, December 3rd at 7 p.m., join leaders from 3 faiths to talk about how hope and faith can be used as tools during this time of crisis. They will be Reverend Dr. David Shaw, Dr. Narey Yurt, and of course, our very own Rabbi Mark Katz. December 4th, next Friday night, Rabbi Asama Goldstein-Stoll will speak about race in the Jewish community, specifically her experience as a Jew and a rabbi of color. And 2 last pieces, the Israeli Book Club discussion group will be meeting on Sunday, December 6th at 7 p.m. And if you're looking for any more light than we're seeing in our candles tonight or Havdalah candles we see each week, Hanukkah's coming soon. Check the Igeret. There are tons of Hanukkah opportunities.
Awesome.
I cover it all?
Yeah, I would also say, take a look for the Film Fest, which is coming up. It's I think the first film is on the 16th, so Wednesday night, but then we've got films 2 other nights subsequently, and the theme is going to be racial justice. And we have a really impressive, although small lineup, a really impressive lineup for the small lineup. So with impressive speakers and talkbacks, and it's going to be great. So definitely check that out. So with that, we're going to end with the words Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, that peace will come, and Salam, peace in Arabic. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam shalom. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam shalom. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam shalom. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam shalom. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. So Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We're going to give you a chance now to unmute yourself and wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom.
Let's see.